Good morning. My name is Steve Apps, and welcome to today's CIPH Agents Council webinar led by Agents Council Chairman Andrew Dyke of Barclay Sales. Thank you very much for taking your time out today to attend this important webinar. I'm pleased to note we have more than 30 sites registered across Canada representing all CIPH regions. Now, quickly, before I hand it over to Andrew, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions at the end of this session, either by typing your question directly into the question box, which you'll see in the webinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, or you can click the little raise hand icon, which is also in this control panel, and I can unmute you and you can put your question directly to Andrew. But we ask you to please save your questions for the end if you can. And finally, a copy of this broadcast will be made available to all attendees following the webinar, and you will have the opportunity to submit questions to Andrew after the session has ended. So without further ado, please welcome Andrew Dyke. Andrew?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar this morning. I must admit, surprised by the response. Over 30 people registered for this webinar. In the past, we've been lucky to have 6 or 7, so I'm thrilled that you've taken an hour out of your day to listen to what we're working on at CIPH with respect to the agents. So I have the PowerPoint presentation in front of you, and this was presented to me by Stephen and Ralph, and I think it's more than ever something that we're faced with as agents as we get more and more information pushed towards us as far as reporting and getting back to our manufacturers. And I think it's important that we remember that we're agents and we work for ourselves, but we have to accommodate some of the requests. So I think as we move forward, I'd like to get some feedback from the agents across the country as to where you are with this information and how you're dealing with it with your manufacturers, so we can maybe put it as an action item for the next time we get together. But I do think that it's very apropos for these days. Here's the agenda for you to review. I think you had it sent to you earlier, and if you look at this agenda from where we were 5 years ago, it's got some real meat to it. There are many things we're working on, and hopefully you're seeing increased value from your membership with CIPH. First thing I'd like to do is call the meeting to order, of course, and welcome everyone again. And then we'll look at the 2015 meeting from Quebec City. So for those of you that aren't familiar with what we're doing, if it's your first time attending the webinar, we have an agents meeting at ABC, which is the annual business conference, and we have a webinar 6 months later, which is this particular event. And our June meeting, we actually had probably our best attendance ever. You can see that we had about 10 or 12 people at the conference, and then a couple of people participating by webinar. So here's the minutes, and I just thought I'd follow up with what we've done since that time. It was announced that I was appointed to the Executive CIPH Board of Directors at the conference, and that's the first time an agent has ever been to the Executive and in the 80 years of belonging, or I guess agents have been about 50 years now, and so that's a major event for the agents to have someone on the executive level. I was thrilled to be a part of that and look forward to continuing to serve you guys for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Other things that were happening, we have our 1-hour meeting at the conference, and 2 years ago, it was starting at 7:30, and we got it changed back to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So most of us are very pleased not to have to meet at 7:30 in the morning. Okay. New business. It was noted that agents had recently indicated via survey their strong support for the addition of a second agent on the board. At the time of this meeting in June, I was pretty confident that I would be appointed to the executive, and I didn't want to be bringing forward the idea that, you know, we want to have a second person on the board when we're just getting someone onto the executive. But since that time, with the help of some key board members, Paul McDonald being one of them, we were able to bring forward a motion to add a second agent to the board, and that was passed last week in Palm Springs at the board meeting. So provided that at the ABC 2016, the motion is passed, we will be approved for a second agent on the board. So again, another great thing happening for the agents. And at this point, I'd like to point out that there is a commitment for a second agent to come on board of 2 consecutive terms years. And I'd like all of the people on the call and anybody that will get the minutes of this event to really think hard about whether they want to put their name into the ring, because effective 2017, that position will probably be real. So again, really excited about that. A couple other action items that came out of the event. Action number 1 of point 3, questions should be added to the survey for 2016, a breakdown of agents' commissions. That has been added. Second action item, warehousing commission. We were not able to get data from AMAR, so we're kind of still stuck with that one. The next action item, webinar for agents, if they can provide a speaker to lead a webinar on how agents can deal with damaged product and avoid insurance claims. We're still working on that. And the bankruptcy clause also we're still working on. Number 4, there was an action item for me to discuss with manufacturers. If this type of support for our agents was available to all. I did talk to some manufacturers about adding compensation for attending the ABC conference, but every manufacturer is different, and some see it as a beneficial to have an agent at the conference. Some people think the agents should pay themselves. So I would encourage you to speak with your manufacturer and ask if there's an opportunity for compensation or assistance, financial anyways, to attend the conference, because it is worth going. It is expensive, but I do think the value of attending at least once is worth it. As far as the next part of the minute, we're going to talk about AMAR and MRERF. And the last action item was for me to talk to the wholesale division about encouraging wholesalers to attend meetings in their local area. Well, when I talked to some of the wholesalers, they said, well, the agents aren't there either. So I think as a group, if we could show the wholesalers and manufacturers that we are at those events, the wholesalers will come. That wraps up a review of the minutes. So the next step will go to manufacturer's rep profile. So this is the 3rd time coming up for this survey. It will happen in 2016. The first 2 times we've done this survey, we've only had about a 30% participation level. And for the data to be meaningful, we really need about 50%. I know that we have participated as Barclay Sales the last 2 years and have got exceptional data back, but it's a national report. We'd love to have it broken down by East, West, and Central, but until we get larger participation, we can't do that. But still, it's fantastic information. The information that you share is strictly confidential. IPH does not see it. It goes to an independent body, and it is really worthwhile getting the data back. 28 participants last year. It'd be great to have 45 to 50 this coming year. So if we go through the survey, hopefully you've had a chance to look at it if you haven't done it already. But please take a long, hard look at it, and also talk to some people that may have participated to find out if the data is relevant, because I think it's extremely valuable. Small agent, large agent, across the country, I think there's benefits. So I don't want to go through all the questions, but you can see all the questions that are listed. You can choose to not answer some of the questions if that's the case, but still do the survey and get the results. So what I wanted to do is get right to the executive summary. get caught up with my notes here, if you don't mind. So I highlighted a couple of points. The typical firm generated $9 million of revenue in 2013, a change of 5% from the previous year. Again, you can look at your own business and say, you know, where am I with compared to the typical firm in Canada? This second point I thought was really important. Firms typically represent 10 different lines. Top 5 lines generate 85% of your total commission. Again, your 5 lines, if you're an average agent across the country, 85% of your commission is from those top lines. Top 2 lines alone generated 60%. So obviously, of the 28 people that were surveyed, their top 2 lines give them over 50% of their commission. So that's a big number. The most common commission rate was 5%. Typical range was 3 to 10%. In other words, if you're getting a 1% or 2% commission line, you're below average, and perhaps you should be talking to your manufacturer. But 5% shouldn't be average. We're worth more than that, and we should be striving for a higher number. And my understanding is in the U.S. the agents have higher commissions, so we should be looking at better commission rates. But again, that's a challenging task for sure. The other point I wanted to point out is typical outside salesperson receives $66,500 in total compensation. So when your sales team comes to you and asks you for increases, having that number in your back pocket is extremely valuable when negotiating with your employees. Beginning salespeople, $48,500, and top paid sales guys, $90,000 in total compensation. It's a great benchmark for you to say, where am I? What am I paying my guys? And I've got a really valuable guy, and I'm paying him 60 grand. And you're finding out that some of your competitors are paying up to 90 grand total. Maybe it's something you should be considering. So once again, great data is available. This is only a few points on the executive summary. Across the country, we currently have 87 agents as CIPH members. We are the largest segment as far as the companies with regard to CIPH. And really, it would be great if we could get 45 to 50 agents participating on this survey. I'm not sure when it's going to be coming out. I'm assuming it'll be February or March. But if you have any questions, please let me know. If we don't get to the 45 to 50% ratio, it will be hard to recommend to the board to continue. So please look at it very seriously when you get it. And if you have any questions, of course, give me a call. Okay. One of the things that I worked on with Ralph and Paul McDonald was to engage in increased value for CIPH members, agent members. So we looked at different associations, and the one that we thought made the most sense to work with was AMAR. And attached or on the presentation is the information about AMAR. It's an association that promotes and improves the rep function through education, networking, communication, and leadership. AMAR is the premier national trade association where rep professionals go to succeed in the plumbing, HVAC, kitchen and bath, waterworks, and related industries. I'm not going to read everything there, of course, but I wanted to point out a few points. AMAR promotes the function so both manufacturers and customers know the benefits of selling through and buying from multiple line field sales professionals. It's often overlooked about when we're talking to our manufacturers. We've got other lines, and it's important that they understand that it's not all about them all the time. As much as we'd like to be able to do that, we do have other lines. Another part of joining AMAR is you'll receive instant hotline email bulletins and manufacturers seeking representatives. So manufacturers are going to AMAR and promoting the fact that they're looking for reps. And what a great lead resource if you're looking for new lines. So some great opportunities with AMAR. Currently, there are 6 Canadian AMAR members and 3 are CIPH members. And I wanted to point out that the upcoming conference for AMAR is in 2016 in Miami, Florida. And if you attend a conference for the first time, you get a discount of $250. And if you join AMAR for the first time, annual membership is normally $495, and new members get a $250 discount on membership dues for your first year. So if you were to join AMAR, or were even considering joining AMAR this year, being a CIPH agent member, you would save $500 in your first year. So that just paid for your CIPH membership. So a great opportunity. We joined this year, and my business partner, Jeff Blair, went to New Orleans and said it was a great conference. And I know that Robert Parkinson at Crypto and Brian Morgan of the Morgan Group also have been big promoters of the AMAR conference and the association. So I wasn't there. Paul McDonald and Ralph Supa did attend the AMAR conference in New Orleans. And as I had mentioned, Ralph and I were working together to try to increase the value for agents. And we came up with the idea of having a memorandum of understanding with AMAR. So I've just put it onto the screen. Perhaps you've already read it, but the whole intent is that we will continue to work together in the industry. And as we've already done the value with regard to the membership and conference production and fees, but we will be working even closer with AMAR to identify opportunities that will help our agents across this country become more active and better business partners. So great opportunity again. This was approved at our board meeting earlier this month and will be signed hopefully shortly. And the other part of this is that I understand that we will have a representative from AMAR attend our ABC in Banff 2016 to talk more about AMAR and what CIPH and AMAR are doing. I'll just get out of this screen and get back to the presentation. MRERF. We'll talk about it in June. And MRERF is Manufacturers Representative Educational Research Foundation. MRERF provides many resources for both sides of the manufacturer and rep relationship. The goal is to improve the relationship through professional development, awareness, and communication. Resources include outsourcing field sales, interviewing guidelines, passport into the territory, and I want to talk about this for a few minutes. We all have manufacturers that call oftentimes saying, hey, I'm going to be out there next week. Let's make some calls. I have a few guys that are very consistent at that. And, you know, oftentimes we're saying, well, you know, what are you coming for? And I'm busy. I got another guy in town. So MRERF encourages a 30-day planning window. What customers? What purpose? You know, your rep firm is a cost-effective sales solution because your manufacturers share the cost of sales with other manufacturers. As such, it is reasonable for them to expect that you will ask about other manufacturers while on a joint call. I have a few guys that would absolutely probably blow a gasket if I talked about other manufacturers, and I have others that are fantastic with it. So this planning tool is a great way of working with your manufacturers to say, hey, you know, we want to maximize your time here. What's the purpose of your visit? And let's figure out what we can do. The point is, if you do not talk about other manufacturers while you're there, it's not a cost-effective sales call, and they can expect you to do the same thing when you're talking with other manufacturers. So a great tool as well. Now, MRERF has some courses, the Certified Sales Professional. I haven't taken any of these courses, but you'll see is listed below there's some cost savings if you're a CIPH member to take these courses. You can see the locations and dates and some of the comments from the people that have taken the course. I plan on taking this course hopefully this coming year, but I'm not sure if I have a window of opportunity yet to take it, but certainly looks like some really valuable training. This one here, the Certified Professional Manufacturers Representative. Interesting course. It's executive education for rep firm owners and managers. Participants invest 1 week at a time for 3 separate sessions to gain tools, knowledge, and insight into operating a rep firm more effectively and profitably. I find that it's interesting that it's actually over a significant amount of time, up to 3 years. So certainly it's a course that you can consider if you're struggling with your finances and how to operate your business. And the next course, which I think is quite interesting, Manufacturers Best Practices, because no one teaches reps to be reps. There's also no one teaching factory sales managers how to manage reps. To that effect, IPA offers the manufacturer's best practices for working with reps. We all know what it's like when we get a new manufacturer's sales manager. You know, are we going to lose the line? What's he going to do? Reports, whatever else. Probably awkward to suggest this course to your manufacturer because you might take exception to that. But certainly, you know, being part of AMR and doing MR ERF training, it may be a discussion that you can have. But interesting that there's even a course for that. Okay. The IPH Region Board Agents' Responsibilities. I'm assuming that some of you that are on the call are currently representing your agents in your local region. I just wanted to kind of point out some of the things that I'd like you to consider, and I'd like all agents to consider when being part of CIPH. If and when possible, to attend all CIPH events in your region. Now, I know that's not always possible. I know that finances sometimes are an issue. I know sometimes you look around the room and there's very few people, especially in the smaller regions. But I think as agents, that's a networking opportunity for us that CIPH provides, and I think we should be utilizing it to the best of our ability. So I encourage you to try to get to all events. Of course, if you are on the local board, you must go to all the meetings and events. Reporting the updates to your board. You know, the agents do have oftentimes a lot of knowledge regarding the industry, and sometimes sharing that information at the board level is advantageous. If there are concerns, bringing it back. If an agent has a concern, they should be bringing it to the local region board member, and then moving it up the chain to myself, and then bringing it forward to the board. So there is a way of getting information that's concerning to you to CIPH, and of course you can come directly to me or however it works, but certainly be more than happy to try to work with you on any of the issues you may have. We have done this in the BC region. We've actually held an agent meeting, and this was several years ago, but the intent of the meeting was we were getting bombarded as agents with requests for door prizes, barbecues, golf prizes, various things like that. And we were getting to the point where we had to not put it to an end, but certainly got together as a group. And we actually formed a document that we requested to the wholesaler to say, you know, can you just complete this document and tell me, you know, where's my money going? What's it going towards? And what's the total cost of your event? You know, and what skin do you have in the game? You know, if you're asking for $1,000, you got 20 guys coming, you know, give us a budget of your event so we can decide whether it's worth it to present to our manufacturers. So, you know, there's nothing stopping you from having an agent meeting. You do have to have your local coordinator attend, otherwise it conflicts with the law, but certainly it's worth considering. Let other people know that CIPH has got some value, and if you're, you know, some of your competitors aren't members of CIPH, try to encourage them to join. And the last one that I'd like you to all consider is attend one conference. The ABC conference moves around the country. Last year was Quebec City, this year is Banff, next year is Ottawa, the year after that I think is Whistler. So, try to find out when they are and see if you can work with some of your manufacturers and say, look, I want to go. Would you consider helping me out? There are some manufacturers that I know that do offer compensation to agents if they attend the conference. Put it into your contract. If I go, will you give me, X amount of dollars? I'm sure some of them will perhaps laugh at you for suggesting it, but some of them are very serious about having their sales team at that conference. So, feel out your manufacturers and say, hey, I'd like to be there. What do you think? And if you get some conversation going, it may lead into some financial help for you to attend. The last thing, get involved. We don't join CIPH just to have our name as a member. We don't pay the money just so we can have our name there. The networking opportunities that CIPH provides are significant, and I think as agents, it's always worthwhile to be at these events. Okay, Cybex Roadshow Agent Survey. I did this because I wanted to know what the feeling was of the agents across the country with regard to the roadshow. So here are the results. And found them kind of interesting. I mean, I was very, very pleased with the response. We got some excellent response. And some of the comments are listed below. First one that I wanted to comment on is too many other shows as well. We do breakfast, coffee, donuts, and more. I understand that, and I agree with that, and that's one of the reasons why we had agents meetings to try to figure out how to reduce some of these shows. But certainly, Cybex Roadshow, the intent of the show is to get a small event into a trading area that wouldn't normally see a trade show. And whenever we can, if it's possible to support it, would be greatly appreciated. Second comment I wanted to make a note of is no, not enough contractors, engineers attend this event. Well, I know that CIPH does a lot of work with regard to this event, but certainly the agents can do a lot of promoting of their brands themselves and reach out to the contractors and engineers. So it's a kind of a two-way street, in my opinion. We have to respect that CIPH is trying to build on a function that is going to be successful for the industry, but we as agents, wholesalers and manufacturers as well, but we have an obligation to reach out to our wholesaler or to our contractors and engineers as well, and encourage them to get out to the show. Return on investment, I can't argue with that. If in a small show it is a significant amount of money, but again, if you can get your top 5 contractors that you're working with or top couple engineers out to see some of your products you represent, your return on investment could actually be very good. So are you planning on attending the Cybex Roadshow as a visitor? This one really did surprise me. Again, I think the roadshow gives you a great networking opportunity, and even if you're not showing product, I think it's worthwhile to see what your competitors are doing. You might bump into someone that is looking for a new representative, and you just never know. So I think to see 25 people say they weren't interested in going, I think you missed the networking opportunity, and that's all I'm going to say to that. I think it's a valuable opportunity. There were some additional comments which were good. I look forward to meeting folks at the tables I'm involved in and by turning the event myself. We enjoy the show. So again, there'll be no roadshows in 2016 because of the other shows, but certainly roadshows are an opportunity. And I guess I'll say as well, you can reach out to the agent that's working in your region and say, if you don't think there's value having a roadshow, talk to them and say, what can we do to make a difference? And get the board energized in that region to say, hey, we got got to change the game here. We got to get more people out. That's how we can do it. So just some thoughts on that. Okay, I'll skip out of here. Trade shows for 2016. Once again, CMPX 2016 in Toronto, which, you know, for those of us that have been around a long time, this used to be a national show. It has now become very much a regional show in the Ontario region, a little bit of Quebec maybe. But having said that, it's the largest show as far as I know in Canada with regard to our industry. So if you're in the trading area, it's worth a visit. The Meat Show in 2016. Oh, getting back to CMPX, if you don't know, it's a joint venture between HRAI and the IPH, and it continues to be at the trade show. The trade show, or sorry, at the conference center in Toronto. That continues to be a struggle because a lot of people have said let's move it to a different location, but it's going to be there in 2016, so we'll work with that. Meet 2016 is in Moncton, May 18th and 19th, and in Cybex West in Vancouver, November 2nd and 3rd. So you can mark your calendars on those events. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is manufacturer visit objectives. I mentioned it briefly with MRERF, and currently I have a document that we've done that I'd like to share with you. But before I sent it out, I just wanted to get some feedback with regard to this. I'll read some of the points. In order to meet your expectations, so Barclay Sales is best prepared for your upcoming visit, please fill out the following. Date of your visit, territory, what are your objectives, what samples do you need, are there any engineers, builders, whatever you'd like to see, what are your expected results of this trip, will you have a vehicle, are we picking you up at the airport? Seems like simple questions, but you know, there's been a few times when a guy's called and said, hey, I'm coming out, and usually he rents a car and he changes his mind, doesn't rent a car, and then we got to go pick him up. Are you wanting to have dinner after in the evening? Where are you staying? You know, we could recommend a hotel or two for them. You know, where are you flying into? That may not be an issue in your area, but we have a couple airports in BC, so we want to know where they're flying into. And then a follow-up questionnaire. You know, how do we do? You know, what kind of what could we have done differently, or what could we have done better? So, if that kind of document's interesting to you, I will get it to Stephen, and he can email it to you as well. So I think that kind of covers everything that I wanted to discuss. I know it's a lot, and I know listening to my voice can be irritating at the best of times. So I'm sure you're probably anxious to hear me stop talking. But at this point, I'd like to open up to any questions that you may have that you can bring forward to Stephen, and I'll do my best to answer. And if I can't answer them on this call, I'll certainly respond as quickly as I can to get you the answer that you're looking for. So Stephen, I'll turn it back to you, and you can let me know if there's any questions.
Thank you, Andrew. I'll just reiterate, if you do have a question, you can type it into your question box on your control panel, or you can click the raise hand icon, and we can unmute you, and you can answer the question directly to Andrew. Andrew, we do have a couple of questions, or rather a question and a comment. Peter asks, can we get a copy of that document that you referred to that was sent to wholesalers regarding prize requests for golf tournaments, etc.?
Sure.
Okay, Peter, that answer your question?
We have it with our coordinator, so I'll just make a note, and I will take care of that.
Robert has just sort of a remark about CMPX. He just says it seems to always be on during spring break.
Yes, it does. This is from my understanding, this is an HRAI event that CIPH partners with, and HRAI sets the date, and we really have no control over that particular time. I do know that these trade shows are being reviewed at the board level, and 2016 I know we're obviously committed to, but 2018 I don't know where we are with that. So I will bring that back to the board with regard to spring break, and we have our long-range planning meeting in February of this 2016, so I'll bring it up at that point.
And Richard mentions that it also conflicts with the second largest show in Europe.
The ISH show?
Yeah, I think
is he referring to ISH?
I think he's referring to ISH, yes.
Okay. Also a great point, and I'll also bring that up to there. I mean, I'm assuming that this has all been said before, but it doesn't mean that it can't be reiterated, and I will certainly bring that up.
It's actually not ISH. He mentioned it's the show in Milan.
Oh, Milan. Okay. Okay.
We have first a comment from Brian and then a question from Peter again. Brian just mentions if anyone wants to have more information on AMAR to contact him. What I'll do is everyone's going to be receiving a survey with Andrew's email. Brian, I'm sure you have no problem at all if I include your contact information in that email to all the participants as well. So if you want more information on AMAR, then you can contact Brian Morgan. He'll be happy to address or help you out. Question from Peter. Peter, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Just a comment on the CMPX show in Toronto here next year. Andrew, I'm on the Trade Show Advisory Committee with Elizabeth and a number of the national board members. We just met this week, and everything you mentioned there about the timing of it, the location, which isn't good and stuff, it's really on CAPH's control. The show is owned by Warren Healy and his group, HRIA, and they have the final say. The board will continue to, the committee's recommending to the board to try to get it to better dates and a better location. And they're well aware of it, but for the time being, it is what it is. It's out of our control.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and just in addition to Brian, Robert Parkinson is also going to. I will also provide Robert Parkinson's contact information with regards to AMAR as well. Are there any other questions?
I guess a last leaving point again is the fact that we are going to, provided the motion is passed in June of 2016, have an opening for a second agent on the board. And again, I can't stress strongly enough that it is a commitment of time. Perhaps in the past, agents haven't been willing to give the time because it's 4 to 6 meetings a year. There's flights involved. There are some expenses that you incur. Most of your major expenses are covered by CIPH to attend the meetings, but there are some expenses. But it's a great opportunity, and I'd love to have 3 or 4 names put forward with regard to, hey, you know what, we want to get involved and we want to sit on that board. And I'm assuming what would happen is we'd have a vote for the agent to choose that person. But if you could start planning now that we could be seriously considering having a second agent in 2017, and that'd be a fantastic thing for the agents, in my opinion, and I hope all of your opinions as well.
Andrew, Richard asks a very good question. Maybe something we can share after the fact is what exactly is the time and financial commitment? Maybe if we could lay out the schedule, your meetings for this year or something along those lines, so the agent can see exactly what that
Sure.
commitment really measures out to.
Sure. In fact, I did ask Ralph that question when we were talking about getting a second agent on the board, and I said, I kind of came in blind because I replaced someone. I really didn't know what I was totally getting myself into. But having a description of the expectation and time commitment for meeting when you're on the board, I think is an invaluable tool for everyone to consider. So I will talk with Ralph to try to get a document prepared to say, hey, here's kind of a job description, if you want to call it that, to say here's your commitment request or requirement, here's your time request, and go from there.
And he actually follows up and saying it would be better to have I think we discussed at the last meeting, is whether to have an East agent and a West agent.
That would be the intent as far as I would think it makes the most sense because, you know, we have a lot of people in the Ontario region that are on the board, so they understand kind of what's happening in the Ontario region. But for the West and the East, which are very different climates and very different markets, it'd be nice to have representation from East and West. Absolutely. But if we don't have anybody from the East that wants to play, then, you know, obviously we can't. If we have the second agent, we're not going to leave it dormant because we don't have anyone from the East. So certainly that would make a lot of sense to have someone from the East.
Right. I think that appears to be all of the questions.
Good.
Last call. All right, well, Andrew, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for taking your time to attend this Agents Council meeting. As I mentioned, you get a copy of this broadcast that you can listen to at your leisure in the next hour or so, and you'll be able to ask questions of Andrew if you've got any questions you want to put to him directly. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, everyone, for attending. I'm thrilled with the turnout, and you know, we continue to be a very strong voice in CIPH, and we're only getting stronger. So if we continue to work together, we can be even a stronger group in the organization. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Bye for now.